Hi, welcome to Conversations with the Candidates. I'm your host, Walt Kosmowski. And with me today is mayoral candidate Mike Cahill. Mike, welcome to Conversations with the Candidates.
Thanks, Walt.
Glad you could join us today.
Me too.
Mike, let me get right with it. In your opinion, what do you think are the most pressing issues facing our city today?
Well, I'd say this. The things that people care about in that make them choose Beverly as their hometown, as our hometown, we want to make sure that we preserve and protect those things and improve upon them, the things that kind of are wrapped up in what we consider our quality of life. And for me, the big three things in Beverly are to make sure that our educational system continues to thrive and improve day by day and year by year, that our neighborhoods are as strong as they are today, and the character of our neighborhoods continue to be strong, and that includes people feeling safe in their homes and the range of amenities that people rely on the city for there. And then the third big piece in how we deliver all that is to make sure that we continue to have appropriate economic investment and growth in and around the community, and in a way that's consistent with preserving our quality of life at the same time.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, very interesting. And you know, what I'd like to do is I'd like to use what you just said and segue into kind of reviewing some of the major projects that are going on in Beverly that have an impact on exactly those things that you just said. Let me start off first with the revamping of the Memorial building and moving the middle school there and surplusing of the Briscoe building. What's your take on that?
Well, whoever the next mayor is will be charged with leading that effort, and it sounds like we are well on track to the state being ready to commit to funding the Memorial School as our new middle school, and so it'll be my responsibility along with others to make sure that happens. But in addition to making sure that we get the school built and that will finish the program of really upgrading all of our schools, which started back when I was state representative, and I brought home the state funding, 64% state funding for each of the 6 elementary school projects. We've been working on that for quite some time. But in addition to the buildings, we have to make sure that that the programming in our schools is all that it needs to be, that our teachers have all the support they need, they have all the professional development opportunities, that our class sizes are appropriate. That everything that makes up a quality educational system is there. And specifically for our middle school kids who are going through Briscoe and will be for the next 4 school years as we project towards opening Memorial, that they have all they need both programmatically and also from that building at Briscoe. Mm-hmm. So we have to be attentive to that as we move through the next several school years. And
we'll return to education in a little bit, but let me continue. One of the things that it seems to be kind of an albatross, a kind of a white elephant now, the McKay building. Mm-hmm. Okay, we're still trying to find a use for it. What's your take on that? What happened? What went wrong? And if you are elected mayor, what would you do about the McKay building?
Well, I'll tell you what I know just from the history we've all seen is, the mayor has gone out 2 different times and put the building out to bid. Both times the bids that came back in, he determined that they weren't sufficient, that he believes the building's worth more and that the depressed real estate market was really impacting that. So the second time that it went out for bid, I was on the council during that 2 years I served on the city council. So I understand well, what his thinking was. If I'm elected, we'll take that building and we'll look to go back out and try again, because we need to, it can't sit vacant for too much longer. And I think probably the best, highest future use of it is for it to be privately developed. And I think one opportunity could be, and I know there was talk about this the last time it went out to bid, some senior housing there with perhaps some supportive type of services for seniors on the first floor. Mm-hmm. And that might be a good future use for that building. That would take it into the private sector and bring tax revenues to the city and provide I think an appropriate and great use for that going forward.
Right. So you feel that because of the depressed real estate market that the value of the building isn't where it should be, but that we should reserve it for private development rather than rehabbing it as some sort of a municipal building, which has been suggested by some? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I will be willing to listen to that, but my take is that there may be other opportunities, for our municipal needs, and that site might be most appropriate for future residential type use.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now I want to ask you about the Route 127 Brimble Avenue interchange. And
128.
What did I say?
You said 127.
120,
That's all right.
128.
That's
Okay, so we sit here, today's Friday the 13th, September 13th, and there is a hearing next Monday to kind of get some more information on this. But as we sit here today, we certainly know enough about this project that's been in the works for over a decade. What is your feeling on the Route 128 interchange project?
Well, let me just start by saying you're right. The public awareness of and conversation on this has really only started this past week. So it's been in the news a lot, and in a few days there'll be a continuation of the public hearing at City Hall. The information, more and more information is coming out daily. The mayor just today in the Salem News printed an open letter to the citizens, and so information is being made available. We understand now that, and remember from time to time we did hear this about the Brimble Ave project or that, but the details are what people are just now starting to, come to understand. I believe that the public process should have started sooner. Certainly on this or any, initiative or project of note. If I'm mayor, then the public process will be more significant, and it will happen earlier on in the timeline of anything like this. But that said, the process has started. As I understand it, when you look at the project, and it's in two phases, as it's talked about, it's on balance, it's a $25 million project. It's meant to improve traffic safety, getting off at Brimble Ave, moving through Sawyer Road, Brimble Ave, where there's some really dangerous left turn movements throughout that whole area.
Right. I'm familiar. I travel that every day to work.
Right.
So
we all do, and it's a challenge. And when you look at what's called Phase 2, the creation of a new highway exit up by the Music Theater, it would be an overpass between by the Music Theater over to the old landfill, and it would be a full highway interchange. That is meant to pull traffic off of Brimble Ave and ease traffic on Brimble Ave itself. The Phase 1 part of it, as it's proposed, would move the connector between Sawyer Road and Brimble Ave. I'll say this right now, as I understand it, the real sticking point on this for a lot of people is the fact that there's a developer, the CEA group, that owns a parcel of land that used to be the Archdiocese of Boston land, right? And they've been permitted already some years ago now to develop retail, offices, a combination of allowable uses. And the mayor is asking the city council and the planning board to approve a rezoning of the state property right at the highway. And that includes the current ramp up towards the Victoria Rocky Post, right at the highway, rezoning that land to the same zoning as the CEA land, so that they can then swap the land, transaction between the state and the private developer.
And they have a more accessible parcel for development, obviously, then,
And the mayor and the highway department apparently are saying that that's preferable for the development of the new access road, right? Because it'll pull it further from the highway, and it design will work better. So my current position is this. On balance, I believe in the whole of the Brimble Avenue idea, the project, the interchange. The details of all of it aren't set, nor do they have to be set in stone. But we really can't 5 years from now, 10 years from now, be sitting here stagnant economically. We can't have done nothing, or we won't be able to provide the services that we all need and we all care about in the city. And we'll have missed a chance to try to improve traffic safety and traffic flow. So on balance, the whole of it I support. I support the rezoning as well, because I believe that CEA, since they can already go to the planning board and seek a special permit to develop, which is the same right they would gain by the rezoning of the land. They wouldn't gain greater rights or lesser rights. I believe that they will develop potentially regardless of the land swap, and we would miss out on the opportunity to do the significant redesign and improve safety of the flow of traffic throughout that area.
Okay. Let me ask you another question about another project, or the waterfront development, waterfront redevelopment. We've heard so much about the restaurant project down there, which is now kind of in litigation and it's on a hold. What is your take on the waterfront development situation?
I have a lot of thoughts on that. I just want to wrap up on the Brimble Ave piece, though.
Sure.
Because I was trying to share with you what I thought of the details. But there's also the public piece, and there are some real legitimate concerns around traffic that neighbors in both ends of Brimble Ave and throughout the corridor have. And when I said the public process has really just started, we need to work hard and consistently and throughout this whole process and going forward to try to find creative solutions and mitigate traffic concerns. When Phase 2 happens, it'll pull significant traffic off of Brimble Ave. In the meantime, we're going to have to really pay special attention to making sure that people can move comfortably through those neighborhoods. So I just wanted to kind of finish
Sure.
that, and that to me requires an ongoing conversation directly with the neighborhoods and having them at the table to make sure we do it right.
No, well,
So as far as the waterfront, I'm excited about our waterfront. You know, if I'm elected mayor, we will have not one, but multiple waterfront restaurants. We should have from way over by Rowan's Fish Market and beyond to the Ventron site, all the way down towards the Tuck Point condominiums. We should have a public walkway, what I like to call a harbor walkway, and we should have things that have people wanting to come down there. So yes, the Black Cow restaurant, that needs to go in. But also on adjacent parcels, the city should be helping to promote the type of waterfront development that people want, and that is more restaurants, shops, retail, more boat slips, and as I said, just that kind of that life down on the waterfront.
Yeah.
Things have been tied up in litigation. I understand, and I've done a lot of research on this particular point, that the property owners next to the site who own Port Marine, they have plans for their property. They want to develop their property and develop it in a way that the public will really like, because it includes some residential and some retail and restaurants. So, that's a plus for that site. They need the city's help to do so. They need the city's help to move the federal channel. They need the city's help to change an old state statute called the designated port area.
Right.
And this has been done in other communities in Massachusetts. And it will be one of my top priorities and commitments to make sure that this all happens on our waterfront so we can open it up.
Right.
It'll mean a lot economically to our downtown and to the kind of to go along with the lower part of Rantoul Street and its kind of rebirth in that sense. And it will mean a lot psychologically to our community. Finally, to have a place to go down and enjoy our waterfront and sit out and get a bite to eat, and who knows what we can bring in there for restaurants, but I think it's a great opportunity. And I'm not talking about 10 restaurants, but a couple.
Yeah.
And a real opportunity to get down there and enjoy it day in and day out.
Yeah. Now, does when you think about Beverly, people think about tourist destinations. They say Salem and they say Gloucester and they say Newburyport, but people don't usually say Beverly. And of course, developing a waterfront would be one aspect, perhaps, of making Beverly a tourist destination. What other aspects of our city, what else can we do to encourage tourism in Beverly?
Well, just a couple things to keep in mind, I think. First is that having a couple of waterfront restaurants and a real enjoyable walk down there will bring people. We already are a destination community for restaurants. It's really developed in a great way. People will come from all over the area to come eat out at our restaurants. People come from outside Beverly for the music theater, obviously, for the Cabot Cinema, now for the Larkham as they start to put a schedule of performances out. So I think we have opportunity to bring people down for the night out, and if we take advantage of our arts and cultural opportunities up along, really kind of up along Cabot Street, we have the Larkham Theater, we have the Cabot Cinema, the disposition of that, the next iteration of that's critically important. It needs to be a place that's available for live performance, for movies, for live performance. And then if you take that and the Larkham and the Briscoe Auditorium and the bandstand on the Common and the Lynch Park Shell, we've got a lot of live performance opportunities, and we have already an arts component in our community. We could do something like a summer music festival, summer theater festival.
Right.
Well, not music too, but a summer theater festival like they have out at Williamstown, with a lot of live performance, with artists in residence, with live performance theater schools and programs going on. And that's the kind of thing that can help build the thought of making Beverly a destination downtown.
Now let me ask you this. If you're elected mayor, at the start of 2014, we could have a new mayor, we could have a new police chief, and a new superintendent of schools. As the mayor, arguably these are probably the three of the most important positions, certainly in the city. How would you manage that situation as mayor?
Well, we will have a new police chief and a new superintendent of schools. I guess the only question might be with the superintendent, will that person be on board, or might their start time be delayed a bit depending on their prior commitments? But no, as mayor, I'll be the leader of the community, and I will work hand in hand with both of those individuals and with everybody else who's involved. I mean, when it comes to the schools, yes, it's the superintendent, but it's the school committee, it's the parents, both individually and collectively in the organizations, it's the teachers and other professionals. So, there's a lot of great opportunity for our schools, and I'm excited about that opportunity and the ability to work with all these talented people. Same on the public safety side. There's already a lot of good that's going on, and there's great potential for for our community to improve on every front. Even though, as I said, great things are happening. So, no, that's a natural part, and change is good. It is a quote changing of the guard, a generational change in leadership in our city, and I'm excited to hopefully be right there at the forefront of it.
Now let me take that one step further. I asked you about what some of the pressing issues and challenges are facing the city. If you came in as mayor, you're going to be following a mayor who's been here, Bill Scanlon, for almost 2 decades. What would be the challenges coming in as a new mayor after having an incumbent in there, or having a mayor that's been there for that long? How do you gain legitimacy? How do you develop credibility as the new guy?
I wouldn't worry about that. I mean, the voters, if the voters elect me, the voters will have tasked me with the job of leading the city. So I wouldn't worry about that at all. It's there'll be some initiatives that are ongoing, like the ones that we're starting to talk about, that I'll be responsible for helping to lead to fruition, and there'll be some new initiatives that I have some in mind, and my leadership style will be to bring people to the table and try to tap all the incredible human talent and capital we have in this community, and find the right way to approach some of our challenges and opportunities, and then attack them, and then make great things happen.
Now, the mayor has, I think, something like 15 or 20 direct appointees, department heads. What have you thought about what you would do in this respect? How would you fill out your cabinet, your appointees? Any ideas, thoughts on that?
Well, it's really a premature conversation. I mean, I haven't even qualified for the final ballot in November. I have to get through the preliminary election on September 24th. But if I'm trying to put most of my focus on listening to the voters, bringing to them my ideas and my message, and trying to convince them and give them a comfort level that I'm the right person to lead our city. Not to say I haven't thought about some of that, but I don't. It's not really time yet to go down that road, but when the time comes, I'll have a strong team of department heads and support staff in place come January.
Getting back to the Brimble Avenue interchange project, of course, the third piece there that you alluded to, besides the traffic safety and eliminating some of the access, or making access easier. Of course, that with the development, the second phase with the development of that property, that will bring in new revenue because you'll have new development. Should we, as a city, go after development, new growth at all costs?
No.
So what is your thinking about that?
It's it needs to be appropriate. It needs to be consistent. My goal will be to try to look at everything through the lens of, is it consistent with the best interest of our community, both in the near term and the long term? And that's the whole taken together. I talked with you about the character of our neighborhoods and the quality of life we care about, and it's wrapped up in a lot of things. Development, the right development, in the right places, in the right ways, is really critically important to being able to deliver services. But you ask, will we do it at all costs? No, we can't. There may be something that looks like an opportunity, but it has too high a cost to our community. So that'll be case by case. But I think if you ask me right now, where are the best opportunities for economic growth in our community in the coming years? It's the waterfront, it's our downtown, and it's taking advantage of this opportunity that the bigger, larger Brimble Ave interchange presents us, and doing it right. Doing it right so that the commercial industrial parcels of land on Tozier Road, Sawyer Road, Otis Road, the stretch of Brimble between Cycles 128 and the highway, and Dunham Road, so that those properties become more valuable and more worth investment. Now, I'll just say one other thing about the Dunham Road side or the music theater side of all that property. There's city conservation land that kind of that abuts these commercial industrial parcels we're talking about. And that conservation land is critically important. For my part, I'm very interested in, if I'm elected, in taking that, and it's roughly 100 acres of conservation land out behind North Beverly School and kind of out from the dead ends of a couple of Dodge Street neighborhoods, where people live right abutting it. I'm interested in taking that property and putting greater conservation protection on it than currently exists, so that no future city council or future mayor might be tempted to look at that and do what you kind of asked about. That would be an example of development at all costs.
Yeah.
So there's conservation land there that I want to put under greater conservation protections than exist today. And that would, I think, be an example of what we're talking about.
Well, let me kind of ask you a devil's advocate question. The city, in the city budget, our revenues, really the two biggest drivers of our budget are property taxes and then what we get from the state. And what we've been getting from the state, it went down drastically a few years ago, and it hasn't come up anywhere near what it was back in, 2005, 2006. So property taxes really depend on development. So is there any magic box for revenues? What do we do in those instances?
Well, I look at our potential sources for revenue to power our city services as a little broader. You mentioned property tax, and the property tax is, it's limited in its growth by the Proposition 2.5 law. And I believe that the people of Beverly, we believe collectively that that's an appropriate cap each year, that we can't go beyond that. People spoke on that a few years ago.
I think
when
the
there was
people all agree with you on
and
that.
and so I respect that, and we need to work within that. And you're right, state aid fluctuates. It goes up, it goes down. And there have been times when we've been hurt by it being cut when the state economy has struggled. So for me, the critical points are to have somebody in office as mayor who understands how to, knows how to, and will go fight for the maximum amount of state and federal dollars possible. Now, it comes as Chapter 70 aid to our schools. It comes as unrestricted local aid to our cities. It comes in a lot of different pots of money, though, as well, different grant programs, different offerings and opportunities. And I think that's a critical part of it. So to have the grant writing capacity in our city government, and to thoughtfully and aggressively go after all the different pots of money, just as the high school got a great grant a couple of years ago that they're in the middle of working through. It came from I believe from some federal money grant opportunities. The mayor's proposal on how to fund this Phase 1 of Brimble Ave is dependent on a Mass Works grant, which is an economic development grant through the state. So there are other sources to go after, and then there's the possibility for more cost-saving regionalization opportunities. And I know, having met with Mayor Driscoll in Salem just recently, I know there's some things she's excited about wanting to try with Beverly, with Danvers, with some partner communities. And any particular regionalization opportunity, it needs to offer high-quality services. You can't see a kind of a decrease or deterioration in what you're offering. It has to be high quality. But if it is, and it offers some potential for real savings, then you need to pursue it. And so those are other opportunities in addition to that very, thoughtful, consistent, year in, year out, and aggressive approach to trying to make sure that the right type of economic growth happens in our community year in and year out.
Right. Now, of course, you mentioned this cooperation. Now, we know that there's the agricultural situation over in Middleton that's being built, and we know there's a regional dispatch center that Beverly is bought into. Any other specifics, Mike, that you can mention or that you're thinking about for regional cooperation?
I think there could be opportunities within some city departments to share some resources. There could be purchasing opportunities. A lot of organizations purchase in bulk.
Sure.
Join together for something like that. It could have to do with fuel and energy, but it's all worth exploring. And I think our part of the country, we have all these town and local town governments that some parts of the country have never, everything's been more regional, more countywide. But I think it's more that we need to explore them. I have a couple thoughts in mind, but it's probably, again, premature to talk about those because they may not be the right ones. But the fact that municipal leaders around the region are already looking at this, in some cases have started to do it, as you said, with emergency response and with the Voc and the Aggie School merger. But there are other opportunities there to be found, and I'd be excited to work on those and to really find some meaningful savings, while at the same time delivering services at the same level or higher than we're already doing it.
All said. So let me ask you this, Mike. If you were talking to the viewers out there, and they were to say to you, Mike, why should I vote for you? Why should I entrust the management of the city to you? What would your answer be?
Sure. Well, I've got the experience. I was Beverly State Representative for 10 years, and the people were always, very great about entrusting me with that, and I delivered. I understand how the state budget operates. I understand how state agencies operated. I effectively navigated those agencies to bring Beverly a lot of opportunities. As I said, I brought back state dollars for all of our elementary schools. I helped the city to become an economic opportunity area, which gave the city some of the economic tools to help bring investment, during the last 20 years, including the development of the Cummings Center and some other developments, even cell signaling and others who have taken advantage of some of those economic tools. So I understand how to navigate all that. I understand how to make it work. I have very deep and very strong relationships throughout government across the state, at the local, at the state level, and with a lot of our federal delegation as well. I've had the experience on the city council. I get to serve a term as city council president 2 years ago, and got the chance to get in under the hood of the city budget. And I also have a strong history of stepping up and leading. And my style, as I said before, will be to bring people to the table. My door is wide open all the time. Bring people to the table, challenge each other. When an opportunity looks to some like a problem, but others like an opportunity, let's work through it and find the best answer and move forward in a way that'll help the community. And I'm confident that I can do that. I'm confident that I have both the ability to listen actively and creatively, find the best answers, and then the determination and the strength as a leader to move forward with those and make them reality.
Very good. Well, Mike Cahill, thank you for that very thoughtful answer.
Thanks, Walt.
Thank you for being on the show. And you have been watching Conversations with the Candidates. I'm your host, Walt Kosmowski, and we'll see you next time.